All aboard! Well, hello to this week's Shecky and Shed. And this week we're going to be doing the Hornby Railways Spam Can and its Spitfire, the Bulleid Pacific Battle of Britain class. And it's in Southern Sunshine livery. Eventually I'm planning to get the etched brass plates for this one. But first off, I'd like to mention Shedmouth Junction for sending me this lovely mug as a thank you. Anyway, here's the patience and a bit more about Shedmouth Junction later. I'd like people to go over, because I'll explain why later in the video. They've got an activity for railway modelers, and it's gonna be fun. Anyway, on this one, a quite normal fault on these models is the piston block snaps up the middle, so it just doesn't hold on. And what I'm doing here, I've held it in with a screw while I drill one side. Well, it's held in with a screw and my vice, so I can drill one side. I was only really aiming to go through the plastic and make a mark on the metal, and then I do to the other side. And there we go. We're through, and that'll mark the metal. So I can now take that off. Take the loco out of the vise. And always if you put them in a cloth, if you put them in a vise, always put a cloth in, so it doesn't mark your loco, and be careful. Anyway, here we're starting to drill the chassis block. It's marked up and I'm drilling it with a 1.7mm drill bit, and then I tapped it out to 2mm to take M2 screws. I've seen all sorts of repairs done on this. Eventually I couldn't find any, but eventually I'll probably bulk it up with a brass plate and some JD weld to make it stronger. But it's a normal thing, it gets a stress crack in the middle and the two halves separate, and the actual plate, the actual piston block, is pretty much unobtainable as a spare. So, hey ho, what do you know? And here what I'm doing, I'm actually using the screw there as a self tapper, but I actually changed my mind. It wasn't working that good, so I used the tap on it and went goes straight through the chassis, so I didn't have to measure any depth. So I've gone straight through with the tap. And there I was brushing the swath off the chassis. I didn't think I should have put my compressor on and blown it with the air line. And here what I'm doing, I'm putting the piston rod into the piston block. and putting the screw into the piston block, then putting the screw into, well, after a bit of struggling, I put the screw into the chassis, and here I'm fastening up the screw to screw one half of the piston block on, and one side's on there. What I'm doing, I'm putting a little bit of oil on before I put the piston rod into the piston block for the other side. It is the normal things, and I've seen some messy repairs. I've thought about it for a while, and I thought there must be an easier way. I did think of gluing it, but because it's a nylon part, most glues don't work. Super glue doesn't really work, and plastic glue doesn't work. So unfortunately it's something you have to engineer a solution for. And I'll be adding JD Weld to it. JB Weld, sorry, to it, which is like an epoxy filler sort of thing. It's like a narrow dyke glue, if you will. And I'll make it. I couldn't find me brass plate to make a brass plate for it, but we're just oiling the pony truck screw as we tighten that up. And there were 3 screws missing from this model I bought it. There were no pony truck on. The pony truck were loose in the box. The piston block were broke, so obviously somebody had stripped it down with the intent of repairing it, but never did. And here I've took some screws out of another battle of Britain I have, that'll be coming later. I've got 3 or 4 more that I'll be putting in BR livery and doing different names and stuff on them, with Fox name plates, the etched brass, and I've done some special bits and pieces on them. And here I'm just putting a bit of oil on the tender. A lot of people oil the loco, then don't bother with the tender, but it still has moving parts. So I put a bit of oil on, and here we're reassembling. I'm just putting the front pony truck on now, reinstall it, tighten up the other screws. Why they weren't, well, I didn't get the screws included. I bought it off eBay. I think I got it for 20 quid, if I'm honest. Might have been 25 quid. I know it were cheap because it wanted repairing. I never pay a great deal. And to be honest, but for the repairs, it's a very tidy loco. There's no real marks on it or anything, so it's quite a pretty loco. Yeah, I already had Spitfire and I did regret. I've stripped it and scraped some of the body mouldings off, and I'm upgrading it. Anyway, here we go. A nice slow pass, and there we go. And anyway, just a quick word with you about Shedmouth Junction. They're having a challenge. If you hop over to Shedmouth Junction's channel and check out the video, and it's open to everybody, all railway modelers, and the challenge is do a wibbly wobbly wagon. Any of you wagons of your choice, and use your imagination, but full details are on their channel, so go and check it out. They're a fantastic little channel, and many thanks again for the mug goes out to Martin and Evie. It's really appreciated. It's a beautiful mug. Thank you very much. Anyway, everybody, tatty pie, everybody. Tatty pie.